Okay, now we are talking about pandas and the data frame. Okay, we can import a data from a CSV through entering the web link. I'm borrowing the Boston University's example here, and first, because I have already imported this, if you haven't, you should import pandas as PD. Okay, then you can do this, and you can import a DF. A DF is a data frame. A data frame has indexes. It also has different columns, and different columns has a column name. Okay, and this is usually when we call data. This is variables. This is a variable, and this is observations. There are in total 78 observations, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 variables. Okay, 6 columns, 6 variables. 78 rows, 78 observations. We call this observations. There is a number of pandas commands to read other data formats. For example, if you want to read it from Excel, you rather than using read CSV, you use read Excel, and you also specify the spreadsheet name. You also can import the Stata data format. If you're from a business school or from economics, then you know what Stata is. The data ends with .dta. You can also use Python to read the SAS data. You know that SAS is quite expensive if you want to buy it. So when other people share with you the SAS data ending with SAS7BDAT, you don't always have to buy a SAS. If you just want to read the data, you can just use Python to read it. Also, there is a high dimensional format. The high dimensional data format is saved as .h5. You can also use the read HDF to read this data. Right now, we are just importing this data from the web link. Okay, you can also use your local path. For example, C column hat slash then username then slash then this file name. Okay. So we now have the DF data with us. Now we learn the different commands to manipulate it. So first, this data is pretty long, and we want to read the first 5 records. Can do first. Okay. Then the default value for the head method is 5. You can also do 10. Then you will see the first 10 observations of this data. Okay. If you want to have this exercise, you should pause the video now and do it by yourself first. See if you want to see the first 50, you just do head 50. Okay. Can you guess how to view the last few records? Okay. Just like everything else in Python, we do well. -5 will be from this from the first to the last 5th variable. Okay, if you want to see the last ones, you should use tail. Okay, you have a head, if you have a head, you have a tail. Okay, then you're seeing the last 5. Okay, the last 5 and last maybe last 10. Okay. Data frame can have strings, integers, floats, and the datetime format. Okay. Usually in the data we have this is a string, and this is a string. This is a integer. This is an integer, and this is also an integer. We can also have the float. We can also have the missing data. If this is a missing data, then we use NaN. NaN we learned in NumPy that NaN is. I should import. Then NaN is this. Okay, this is NaN. Sometimes it can be. If I want to select a column or a row, wait. we are using this. If I want to select a column, for example, I want to select salary. Remember that we want to have the variable name as a string in this square bracket. Okay. Now we have this. We just select the salary column, and also we can use this to take a look at the first 5 observations of the salary. And if I want to know the data type of salary, we should use D type. And it shows that it's an integer. Okay. And if I want to check the types for all the columns, I should just use df.dtypes. It's going to show me all the integers, the data types of every variable. We can also show that we have multiple ways of doing this. So in some other programming languages, I asked the professionals. I'm not naming the softwares because I'm not, saying bad things about them. But for some of them, some of the very old ones that people use, even the professionals don't know how to export the column names or the variable names very easily. For example, this is our data, and the data, I want to know how many variables I have. How do I know how many variables I have? First, I know that this is columns, and I can just export the lengths of this columns. And I know there are 6 variables here. Okay. You also can use access to list the row labels and the column names. Okay. So there are 78 observations and these 6 variables. You can also show the number of dimensions. And shows you this is a 2-dimensional matrix because you have rows and columns. Okay. You can't have 3 if it's a panel data. For example, you have 2 indexes. You have the firm name. For example, if the corporate finance data set, and you can have the firm name and the year. So you can have each year's different data. You can also have the number of elements. So in total you have 468. It should be this number times 6, right? Yes. So 78 times 6 is 468. You can also export the shape. So it will show you the number of observations, the number of variables. Okay. So use head and tail to export the first and last in rows, and use the describe to generate descriptive statistics. And in any data analysis, the first step is to generate the descriptive statistics rather than doing statistical analysis for the to explore the relationship. That is to say, when you have the data, usually the analysis wants you to explore the 2 variables or the 3 variables or all of these variables. What are their relationships? For example, if A increases, whether B is decreasing or increasing when A increases, or under what condition of C, A and B will show a positive correlation. Under a different range of C, then A and B may show negative correlation, something like that. Okay. So before that analysis, we want to show the general. We want to get the general sense of the data. For example, we want to know what the maximum value and the lowest value are for this data set. We use a describe. Okay. And for describe, although we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables, we only have 3 variables with numerical inputs, numerical entries. So that's why we only export the summary statistics or descriptive statistics for just the 3 variables. We know that the count, meaning that the non missing the variable, each of the variable has 78 non-missing values. And we have the average, standard deviation, the lowest value, the minimum, the maximum, the medium. Okay, and 25% and 75% cut off. And if I want to know the maximum number and minimum number, I can show this. Okay. The funny thing is that for maximum and minimum, we can export the rank, the strings. Remember that for the strings, okay, it's not really like that what the Python really doesn't know whether A is greater than B or B is greater than which grade is better. It just sorts the string. A is always the smallest. So B will be greater than A. If you still remember what we talked about, the order of letters and strings in the string in the very early videos, you should be familiar with this. If you don't know, you can get back to the lecture one notes. Okay. Similarly, F in the alphabet, F is before M. That's why female is smaller than male. Okay. For the salary, for the service, for the PhD, so this is the number of years graduated after PhD graduation. So these numbers are there. These variables, they have numerical value. So that's why you can directly export the maximum and minimum. You can also export the mean and medium. Okay. Now you don't have the string values. You also have the standard deviation. Okay, and you can also return the random sample of the data frame. I think this. I think it's changed. Like no, it's not. So you don't have the square bracket around the n. So you just enter n here. Okay. Okay. So it randomly exports 10 observations. This is not really very. It's not often used. It can maybe useful when you. So when I exported the random subsample, I usually just so first, if you still remember in NumPy, we learned how to generate a series of random numbers. So I can generate the series of random numbers, and I just export the subsample of observations according to their index, when their indexes are equal to the random numbers. Okay. You can also use the drop NA. We will talk about the drop NA in the next video. Okay, give a summary for the numerical columns in the dataset. Basically, we use describe, and calculate standard deviation for all numerical columns. You should practice by yourself, but we have practiced that. This is the standard deviation. Okay. What are the main values for the first 50 records of the dataset? First, this is the dataset, and the first 50 records will be this. And how do we calculate the main values of them? I'll just do this. And first, I select the first 50 observations, then I calculate the mean. Okay. There are two ways to select a column in the data frame. The first one is what we talked about. It's, for example, salary. You will have this. Okay, salary. This is salary. By the way, you can also use a list to select multiple multiple variables in this data frame. For example, like this. So salary and rank. Okay, you can use a list. If you just want to select one variable, there is an easier way of doing this. Rather than do this, you can also just remember that when you are doing using a square bracket, you must have the quotation to enclose this to indicate that this variable name is a string. Okay. Here you can also use df.salary. Here you don't have to use a single quotation. You don't have to indicate this a string. You just do this. df.sax. You will find this. So calculate the basic statistics for the salary column. What is the salary? Salary is here, and basic statistics will be described. So this is a data frame, and every column can be called a series. This series descriptive statistics can be exported like this. Okay, find how many values in the salary column. Use count method. Okay, 78. Well, there is another way of doing this. You don't have to use. Very easy one is length. Okay, 78. Calculate the average salary. Basically, it's this. Okay. If you don't want to export a lot of things, you can basically use main. Yeah, it should be your exercise. I just showed it for you, but you should pause this video and practice by yourself without taking a look at all of my codes or the codes on the slides. Group by. You can use the group by method to split the data into groups based on some criteria. You can calculate statistics or apply a function to each group, and it's similar to the dplyr function in R. The whole data frame concept is kind of like borrowed from R, and it facilitates manipulation of the data very much in Python. So here I still have the df, and let me so I am grouping the df data by rank. Okay, what do I get? If you just put this, it doesn't show you anything. It just shows that this is an object. Okay, it's pandas.core.groupby.groupby. So it's this function from this library, the two group by there. This is a subsidiary folder, and from this library, Okay, so but you can use this object to do something. For example, you can export this main. It's gonna give you the main for different. The rank is a professor rank, and you will give you the main of the numerical value variables for each rank professor. You can see that on average, the assistant professors graduated for 5 years after graduation of PhD, and they served the university for on average 2 years. And they have a salary of 80,000 something. Okay, and for professor, they graduate. 27 on average 27 years have passed by after their PhD graduation, and they have on average served this university for 21 years. Okay, so you see that this export the same thing. as what I showed. And you don't always have to export the mean of all the variables. You can, so you group by, so this is a data frame group by rank, and you can just select the salary. Actually, you don't have to use a list. If you want to use you can just use this, I think. Okay, so you want to have a list when you have more than one variables, for example, PhD. Okay, so exporting the mean for different rank professors for two variables. So you can use, so when the group by function works, it first automatically sorts this data by rank. So then calculate the mean or other things. You can also pass sort equals false to speed up this calculation. It doesn't really make you feel like it's really much faster. Like if you just run one, command. But if you're using a for loop and you're running like say 1 million rank, you will see the difference of the speed. Okay, see this doesn't sort, so and it sorts because A is put first and ASSO, O is before T. That's why associate professor ASSO is presented before ASSD, presented before the P, ROF. Okay. Filtering. You can create a subset of data by applying the Boolean indexing. This indexing is commonly known as a filter. For example, if you want to subset the rows in which the data value is greater than 120,000, you can basically just do, this is a data frame, and I want to choose a subset from this data frame. And what subset? The subset that the salary of this data frame is greater than 120,000. Okay, then you can create the df sub. Okay, this is the, for example, if you want to know how many of them are there, you can do df sub dot count. Okay. So 25. Okay, there are 25 professors' salary above 120,000. And if you want to get a subset for the of the female professors, then you can choose the sex equals female. Okay, and it's going to show you the female. So all of them are females. Slicing. There are a number of ways. Oh, by the way, what if you want to say you just want to have the subsample where you just want to have this subsample? You want the female professors whose salaries are about 120,000. What do? Remember that this is a Boolean expression, right? So you just need to combine these two Boolean expressions. Can you do this? The end? No. Why is that? Simple. because here you want to have a parenthesis. Okay. And still doesn't work. And this works. So and cannot be used in the filtering, but you have to use the operator and. What if I don't use the parentheses? Nope. First, you have to use a parenthesis. Second, you must use the operator. Okay. For example, if I want to have this is a question. Okay, just don't look at me. Don't look at this slides. I want to have the full professor whose discipline is B and have served the university for more than 20 years. What do I do? I should have the rank equals professor. Discipline is B. And the service should be greater than 20. So I'm exporting all the professors who are full professors, whose discipline is B, and they served the university for more than 20 years. Slicing. Okay. There are a number of ways to subset the data frame. One or more columns, one or more rows, a subset of rows and columns. Okay. They can be selected by their position or label. Okay. Actually, it's not that easy when you get to the loc and iloc. So we talked about it. If we want to select the column salary, we just use salary. Remember the quotation marks. And we also want to use, we can also use df.salary. If we want to have more than one column, we should use double brackets, meaning that this is a list, okay? This is a list. So I'm selecting the two columns from this select column rank and salary. If you need to select a range of rows, you can specify the range using column. And df is going to show you, see the index from 10 to 19, not including 20. Not including 20. And if you want to show the rows by their labels, you use loc, location. You will find this by showing from 10 to 20. Okay, then and this is interesting. If you use loc, it includes 20. Okay, if you don't use loc, if you just select 10 to 20, it selects from 10 to 19. Okay, so okay, this is very subtle. Sometimes I even forgot this. Just be very careful about when you use loc. And you're selecting the columns by their labels. Okay. If you want to just, for example, change this to PhD, and you will get this. Or you can use iloc, whatever you want to call it. You can select the rows by their labels, but the columns by their okay, wait a minute. Yeah. So I'm selecting the first, the fourth, the fifth, and the last, the sixth variable. Remember that df.columns. Still remember? This is the first and second, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why I'm getting the rank plus the 3 variables. Okay. So here I'm using the iloc to select the rows by their labels, but I'm sorry, not the rows. Select the columns. It should be columns by their index. Yeah, this is wrong. A range of rows and columns. Yeah. So when you use iloc 0, it exports the first row of a data frame. Okay. If you don't have a column, it means this row. And if you are using I, it's exporting the I plus 1th row, and minus 1 as the last row. For example, this is df, and let's just df1 equals df dot head. Then df1, because this is easier. It's easier to see that. And let's say df1 dot iloc1. It will give you this. Okay. And if you want to have this as 5, no, 3, then it's going to show this. Check it out. Okay, from this 40, 31, male, and the salary. If you want to have the last one, you can use this. If you want to have from the first one, from the second one to the third one, to the fourth one, what do? You get this is df1. From this to 4 is not included. Okay, 4 is not included. 1, 2, 3. And if you want to export the first column, you do this. And if you want to get the last column, you are doing this. Okay. Oh, I should use df1. df1 is the last column. This is the first column. This is last column, and this is df1. Okay. So this is the first column, and this is the last column, because we have a comma here, so this indicates the index of the column. Okay. This is similar to clock, salary. Okay, we got the same thing, but we use loc. We use loc or location. We use a label. Okay, when we use iloc, we use an index. If you want to get the first 7 rows, use from the first. Actually, you can miss this. You don't have to write this 0. And then iloc. This is select all the rows, and from 0 to 2 is the first two columns. Second through third rows and the first two columns. Okay, here is the first and the sixth rows because it's not counted, it's just a comma. So you're selecting only the 0th and the 5th, the index 0 and index 5 row, and index 1 and index 3 columns. Okay, let's check. Okay. Index 0, index 5, and 1 and 3. You can also write it like salary, maybe rank. I don't know. Okay. You get the observation 0, observation 5's salary and rank. Sorting. You can sort the data by a value in the column. By default, the sorting will occur in ascending order and a new data frame is returned. So df is still this, and we want to create a new variable called df sorted. Then the df sorted is you sort by service. So you see, from service is sorted from the smallest number to the largest number. So that's why it's called ascending. Okay. And this is to just export the first several rows and observations. And it's not surprising that assistant professors serve the least years before promotion. You can also sort the data using 2 or more columns. Let me just use this. So here you sort the data by service. What if you want to sort the data by 2 variables? You want to first sort the data by service from using ascending. Ascending equals 2. So 2 is corresponding to service. False is corresponding to salary. That means you sort by service first from the smallest to the largest, and within the same, when the service is the same for different observations, you sort them again from the largest salary to the smallest salary. Check out. You see, when service is all 0, you sort salary from the largest to the smallest, right? And when service is 1, we only have 1. There were 4 observations with the same service as 2. You sort the salary from the greatest to the smallest. Also, the same for 3. Okay. You can also change it to the add the other criteria to this list and specify the corresponding ascending rules. Okay. In the next video, we will keep talking about pandas, job and so on. And let's take a